Friday the 13th, Part 2. And one thing I want to note right off the bat is we finally get to see Jason Voorhees. It is a shame we don't get to see him in the famous hockey mask yet. Instead, he's wearing this sack over his head, but don't get me wrong, it's not a bad look, just not as good. As far as the plot goes, there's not too much to say. It's pretty much the same as the last movie, except with a new group of characters, because all the characters from the last movie died, except for Alice. But guess what? She gets killed before the opening credits. So at this point, there is no reoccurring characters, or, well, scratch that. There's that You're Doom guy, but even he meets his demise early on. As far as all the new characters go, there's not much to say. They're as bland as bland. And that's usually the problem with all these Friday the 13th movies. You just don't care about them. There's nothing memorable. It's not like in Halloween, for example, where there's a Laurie Strode or Dr. Loomis. You know, those were great characters. And great actors, by the way. So unfortunately, this movie suffers with a lot of dull fillers, just like the last one, because we just don't care about these characters at all. There is this one guy I want to point out. He was flirting with this one hot chick. She was walking and he hit her in the rear end with a slingshot. But then he followed her in the middle of the night, catching her swimming in the lake naked. And what does he do? He takes her clothes. Fucking pervert. Pretty funny though. So after an hour in, we're finally relieved to see Jason do what he does best and kill people. Oh yeah, about freaking time. I always wondered why Jason goes around killing everybody. I mean, Alice made sense because, after all, she killed his mother. But all these other people, they didn't do anything to him. I guess he just likes to kill people for fun. Another thing that I admire is the house that Jason built in the middle of the woods. And inside his house is his mother's head and her sweater. And I always thought it was funny, like, well, he has her sweater, but not the body. But anyways, that's not important. But I always found this to be a very eerie scene. Now, just like the last movie, this movie does get a lot more entertaining in the last 15-20 minutes, but not as good as the first one. But I actually have to note that I actually like the ending on this one better than the last one because, well, it has Jason Voorhees. One thing that I thought was ridiculous is when Jason's chasing down this one chick and she hides behind the bushes and then she kicks him in the nuts. I'm like, come on, Jason, you're supposed to be this legendary killer. You let a little girl knock you on your ass like that? Come on, man. So anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and give you my final verdict. So I'm going to give this movie a 5 out of 10, which is average. And let me explain, because I gave the first one the same rating. So in the first one, overall, I do think it's a much better movie than this one. In fact, I would even say the ending with Mrs. Voorhees is better than the ending in this movie. However, because this one had Jason Voorhees, I was actually a lot more entertained with this one. Even though it wasn't as good of a movie than the first one, I was more entertained. I was a little more engaged, probably because Jason Voorhees was in this one. And towards the end, I really did like that one scene when that chick found Jason's home and she saw like his mother's decapitated head and she put on the sweater to pretend, you know, she was his mother. And yeah, I just really enjoyed that scene. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much why I'm giving this the same rating as the first one. So the first one is definitely a better movie, but this one was more entertaining and it had Voorhees. So, you know, it's a tie there. So anyways, guys, let's talk about part 3.